Welcome back to Riola Sarda, the MXGP of Sardinia, round 8 of the FIM Motocross World Championship with me, Paul Malin, where we've just witnessed a fantastic MX2 finale to determine the outcome of the Grand Prix classification there. The racetrack here, very, very tough conditions. It's hot, although maybe cooling slightly, but I say slightly, maybe 1 degree here or there. Try telling the riders it'll be cooler though, because this racetrack, 1,750 meters long, is absolutely brutal. I'll be joined during this broadcast by the 2004 MX2 World Champion Ben Townley shortly, and he has just been doing laps of the track on foot, and he's got first-hand information as to how tough this racetrack really is. But the circuit here, as you can see, the start straight into a right-hander, so I'm surprised we've not had more casualties through there so far today, because everybody off the rear brake going in, but it is heavy sand as well, so you've got that third engine brake, if you like, or the sand helping with the braking at that point. But we will go down to Lisa shortly, but as you can see, the riders coming in from their sighting lap. Let's take a look at what happened in race 1 a little earlier, shall we? It was a pretty interesting MXGP first race, I have to say, because championship leader Tim Gajser arrived here 81 points clear of Maxime Renault, Jeremy Seewer and Jorge Prado, who was 11 points behind Seewer. Fans got an absolute treat. It took a while to get going, but when it did, here's what happened. Through the first turn, Tim Gajser with his second Fox Holeshot of the season. But as he tipped in, Maxime Renault, who was in second, he went down. Took a few riders with him as well. Ruben Fernandez in there, Brian Bogus, Glenn Coldenhoff at the back. But as they led away, it was Gajser from Prado, Brent Van Donnick. And then just as they were disappearing around the first few corners, Calvin Vlaanderen was just starting to come into play. He was in about 5th or 6th place at that point. Jeremy Seewer went by Van Donnick to move into 4th. That was on lap 3. And then Calvin Vlaanderen also found his way past the Belgian to move into 5th. They both caught Paul Jonas, who at that point was in 3rd in the race. Seewer went through and was quickly followed through immediately by Vlaanderen as well. So Seewer and Vlaanderen now 3rd and 4th. And then, after several attempts, Vlaanderen did get the better of Seewer. He made that pass to go into 3rd, and at that point, Jorge Prado and Tim Gajser were well clear of everybody. Mitch Evans put in a mid-race charge, went into 6th and then 5th with these two passes on Van Donnick and Jonas. But then, second half of the race, maybe 5 or 6 laps to go, all of a sudden hit a wall, and that was it. There was nothing left in the tank for Evans. Paul Jonas just started to fade a little bit. He eventually came home in 9th. As Maxime Renault started to get closer, so too did Brian Bogus. He edged his way into a top 5 place. Renault kept on going despite that fall in turn 1. He came home in 6th position. Bogus down the inside of Evans. That got him into 5th place with 5 to go. And then Vlaanderen, from about 6 seconds back, closed down and passed Jorge Prado, who was also spent, absolutely tired. And then Tim Gajser, who was even further up the track. Vlaanderen, relentless in his pursuit of a first race win in MXGP. He won the race as well by 7 seconds. A first win then for Calvin Vlaanderen and Gajser van Venrooy in MXGP. And what a way to do it on the toughest track on the calendar. Absolutely impressive stuff by Calvin Vlaanderen. Well, we're going to go down to Lisa Leyland. She was down on the grid a few minutes ago. She caught up with Brian Bogus, but before that, a debut in MXGP, Mattia Guadagnini.
We saw such a good and unpredictable first MXGP race, but we still have one more to go, MXGP Race 2. Let's catch up with Mattia Guadagnini from Red Bull Gas. I have to speak to you. Your first official race on a 450, brought it home in 11th. How was it for you?
Yeah, my first race in the MXGP. I didn't know what to expect, but yeah, riding was really good. Of course, the 450 is the big bike, so I didn't know how much I can push. It was just going really easy, not too much, but then in the end I was feeling good, and I was catching some rider in front of me, and I think it was possible to finish 7 or 8, but then I had a crash with another rider, but yeah, still happy with the 11th place, and we try to do a little bit better now.
Good luck for the second race. Thanks, Mattia. I really want to speak to standing construct Husqvarna MXGP rider Brian Bogus. Brian, we all know you're good in the sand, but you were really good out there under really tough conditions. You brought it home in 5th. How was it for you?
Well, actually really tough, because the second corner, I crashed, so I was dead last and worked my way up till 5th. So yeah, I'm really happy with that result. Also with my riding, looking forward to the second moto to die a few times.
No. Please don't.
Yeah, no. But I mean physically. Yeah. So no, it's nice. A little bit playing sand surfing in the sand, and let's go for another good result.
And Brian, just quickly, as a rider, how do you preserve your energy? Is it a case of just holding back a little bit at the start and then going for it, or do you just go full gas the whole way?
Well, first I want to take a really good start, and then we will see. You know, if I'm good in the start position, then we directly fight from the first lap. If I'm a little bit less, then we take it easy and make a late charge. We will see. We will see how it will go. And
best of luck. Thank you, Brian. Okay, good luck to all the guys. It's time for MXGP Race 2.
Good to hear from the riders down there. Here's where we've been, though, so far. And here's where we are today, 15th of May, Riola Sardo at the MXGP of Sardinia. Then we go to Spain in 2 weeks, which will be the first of 3 in a row, followed by France and Germany. Got a week off, and then we'll go to Indonesia for a couple races, and then we're back in Europe for Belgium and Lommel. Then a week off up to Sweden, Finland. And then the last race in Europe will be Saint-Jean d'Angely before we head to Turkey and Oman. Then we've got the Monster Energy Motocross of Nations, Redbud, 25th of September. And that will be a heck of an occasion, I'm sure. Here's how the riders line up then. And Ben Townley joins me now. And of course, yeah, he was the first world champion in 2004 when we went from the 125 division. Ben, great to have you here. And what have you made of it so far? Because I know it's something of a whistle-stop tour for you, isn't it? You were in Granada for a Tenerife launch, and then here you are now, 2 days later in Sardinia before going home tomorrow.
Yeah, thanks for having me. It's a lot cooler in here than it is out walking around the track. It's quite tiring just looking at the track, to be honest. So yeah, no, thanks for having me. I have a whirlwind tour. I actually wasn't scheduled to be here, but I had some work with Yamaha in Spain with their new Tenerife, and yeah, just decided last minute I need to make this happen. I'm so glad I have. I've had a brilliant time. I haven't been to a GP since 2016, yeah. So it's been fantastic to be here.
Calvin Vlaanderen there, the winner from race 1, looking fresh as a daisy, and Tim Gajser looked anything but when he took his Fox Holeshot black plate at the end of the race. You said you went and spoke to Calvin after the race, and he said he actually did look and sound very, very fresh.
Mate, he was as fresh as a daisy. There was no doubt about it. He was able to just, basically ride composed, and he left his charge late, but he didn't spend a lot of energy at the start of the moto. And I was surprised because I was walking around, like you said, I walked the whole track in every moto so far, and he didn't, didn't look like he was using a lot of energy. He was riding real low on the RPM, and it seemed like he was just basically just waiting his time, but yeah,
he looked like he was in control, didn't he? Yep. So when Prado dropped off the radar, we still thought, or I still thought, that Vlaanderen still had too much time to make up. But as it turned out, he was faster than everybody, caught everybody napping. Fly Racing, 15-second board goes up here then for the final time. Race 1, it was a Fox Holeshot for Tim Gajser. Who will it be this time around in MXGP Race 2? All the big hitters to the inside, as you can see. Vlaanderen, what kind of pressure, what kind of nerves is he feeling coming into Race 2? Well, we'll soon find out how fresh he is. As the gate drops for Race 2, he gets an absolute flying start, but he gets squeezed to the inside. Prado, and riders go down here, look, on the outside. Prado leads the way. Good recovery that from Vlaanderen. Comes out of turn 2 in 3rd place.
Yeah, I think we lost Evans there, and I'm pretty sure Watson was down on that first turn as well, I think. So, yeah, a couple of factory riders.
We'll get a recap on that as soon as we get a replay of it. But it's Prado leading the way from Paul Jonas. Then we have, is that Ruben Fernandez? Yes, it is in 3rd. Vlaanderen 4th. Koldenhoff, a better start for him in 5th place. And then Gajser and Bogus, 6th and 7th position for those two. So Gajser with a lot of work to do. And based on how hard he pushed in Race 1 and how smooth you thought he was, Ben Townley, that's going to be a difficult position to get back from there, isn't it? Because he's going to have to put in the push at the beginning of the race, and then he's going to have to suffer at the end.
Absolutely, yeah. He's got a bit of work to do here. And I think they'll thin out a little bit quicker than they did in the first moto. I mean, it was a pretty condensed pack there for quite a while, but this will thin out a lot quicker. And it'll be interesting to see here with Calvin. He's already made a couple of passes. He's in a pretty good position, I would have thought, based on his energy levels and obviously, you know, how confident and well he rode in the first moto. So it'll be really interesting. Obviously, I'd say Jorge, just watching him in the first moto, there's an underlying problem there, or maybe an injury, or I'm not entirely sure, but he definitely faded.
Calvin Vlaanderen gets a good run on Ruben Fernandez coming out of turn 15, jumping into the waves. He takes over 3rd position from the Spaniard as he goes in pursuit of Paul Jonas and Jorge Prado, and already he is making good progress.
I'm expecting Glenn here. He's, what is he, in 6th position, is he? Is it?
Yeah, Koldenhoff 5th.
Yeah, he's going to actually have a much better moto here. Look, almost into 4th here if he can get the pass there. He had a pretty average moto, to be fair. I expected a lot more out of Glenn in that first moto, so it'll be interesting to see if he can really, you know, up the ante in this moto. And I mean, he's a sand specialist, right? Well, I mean, that's his forte, so I'd expect him to charge to the front here.
1 lap complete then. Prado leads the way. Jonas 2nd. Vlaanderen in 3rd. 4th is Fernandez. 5th, Koldenhoff. Gajser behind him in 6th. That's these two coming towards us now in the red pants and the yellow helmet. So Koldenhoff, a better start in Race 1 than he had in Race 2. Didn't go down in turn 2 for a start. But Brian Bogus could be a danger man here for standing construct Husqvarna. Confirmation, Jorge Prado with the Fox Holeshot then in Race 2. He's had an incredible record in Fox Holeshots. 6 now, or 7 now. That's 107 career Fox Holeshots since he turned pro, or even before he turned pro, because he did a couple of wild cards at the end of his EMX 250 season that year. But here is Glenn Koldenhoff holding a better line, but I wonder how much energy level he's got left in the tank, as Vlaanderen looking to go round Paul Jonas. I think the first few laps will be okay. I give it 10 minutes. Maybe, get 20 minutes on the clock here, as in 20 minutes to go, and I might see things just spreading out and passes and mistakes starting to creep in, Ben.
Yeah, I think you'd see with Calvin, he's going to bide his time, to be fair. You know, he would have taken a lot out of the first moto and the confidence that he was able to just pick them off as the moto went on. So I'd say he'll just bide that time, and we'll see his best work come as the moto goes on. It'll be interesting for Paul, as he's obviously come off the back of an injury, I suspect, because he obviously wasn't in great form at all. He lost a lot of energy in the end of the first moto, so I don't think there'll be too much there for Paul's in this moto as well. So, and then again with Jorge, he looked like he suffered as well. So I think if Calvin can keep it on 2 wheels, that might be a career day for him, which would be really cool to see. Yeah,
it was the first ever race win in MXGP for him. He got podiums and race wins in MX2, but that was 2019 and before that. So to do it here on the toughest race, and this is probably the toughest racetrack on the calendar, isn't it? Maybe even tougher than Lommel.
Yeah, so if we specifically talk around this lap, they've done a little bit of work in this area of the track. throughout the day. This isn't too bad. It's slower here, obviously. And as they come into this next section, which is going through Sector 2, is it? And then they'll come into Sector 3. From about here, it is absolutely brutal round to those rollers. It is really tough, and you can see how deep it is there. Really big, deep holes here, and then they jump to this turn, and they are massive right there.
And TV doesn't do it any justice.
Oh, mate, right there, there's a gnarly little hole. The landing right there as well, and then this is the roughest part on the track. At the base of this rise there's a massive square-edge hole, and they have to jump over it, obviously into more holes. It's all this area until they get back to the rollers hasn't been touched whatsoever, I think, throughout the entire weekend, and it is absolutely brutal there.
They fluffed it up a little bit overnight, but didn't completely flatten the track. And so when the girls went out first thing this morning, there was still a lot of holes out there, but they've gradually got worse over the course of the day. But Calvin Vlaanderen just starting to stink his teeth into Paul Jonas now. Prado was fastest lap of the race last time around, but he has a 2.6 second advantage over Paul Jonas as he entered this third lap. And Calvin Vlaanderen, with the energy that we saw in race 1, he knows that he can bide his time and put in a charge mid to late race if he has to or needs to. We saw Gajser fade, we saw Prado fade. Only one of those riders is ahead of him at the moment, and that's Prado, who leads the race by 4.3 over Vlaanderen in third and 3.2 over Jonas in second.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see if Gajser can come through the forward here. I'm assuming that will probably pick Jonas off and maybe Glenn, but you know, I'd expect Glenn to be fairly strong. Maybe Fernandez, but yeah, it might be. Oh, that was a big hole he hit then. He landed deep into that, Calvin did.
Yeah, over jumping, under jumping, stuff like that is something that can just catch you out when you try to race the track.
Absolutely, and this obstacle they're heading to now, those natural hills, that's not a man-made obstacle, that's a natural hill. All of those bases of those hills have big square bases to them. All the man-made obstacles, they actually are forming more natural rolling bumps, but yeah, they're about to come around this next corner here. Jorge is heading into that, and this corner, yeah, you'll see it right here. If we follow Fernandez, at the base of this is a brutally square hole. Right in the centre of it as well. That's why riders are going. Natural areas, you know, like here's another one that they're coming up to throughout this left-hander, and it's pretty gnarly in some of those areas.
Square edges, big rollers, ruts on faces of jumps as well. Anything that can catch you out in the blink of an eye. Paul Jonas doing a great job staying there in second position for standing construct Husqvarna at the moment. He looks a little bit fresher than he did, certainly towards the end of the race in race 1. But as we know, temperatures around 28, 30 degrees today. A wind, but it's a very warm breeze. A circuit that's very, very tough on the rider, the body, the mind, and the motorcycle as well. Very easy to make a mistake, but Calvin Vlaanderen winding himself up to find his way into second position, and he's going to do it here in this turn. Can't quite get the power on quick enough to go past Paul Jonas, but you sense already Vlaanderen is getting ready to go after Prado, despite the gap being around about 5 seconds at the moment.
Yeah, it's a really good line here before the finish. It's a lot shorter than what Paul's was going, so there was a lot of distance that Paul's had to go through that turn. So it'll be interesting if he sets that up. He'll sense that for the next lap, and if Calvin's ready and ready to pounce from that point.
If we stay as we are with Prado leading the race and Vlaanderen coming home in third, Prado will stand on the top step of the podium. But they will be tied on points.
That was a close moment for Paul. He lost the rear end going to that turn, and he didn't really recover. It took a long time to recover, but he finally just, by the time he actually entered the turn, it saved him. So it was a close moment for him.
Yeah, maybe we can look at that again just at the end of that straight, because as you said, in fact, Calvin Vlaanderen is charging alongside him here. Is he going to? Oh, he gets squeezed to the outside. He found a way through into second position. So Calvin Vlaanderen does move into second with a pass on Jonas, and now he has clear track. Can he do anything about Jorge Prado? Yes or no? Well, we've still got plenty of time, 21 minutes plus 2 laps to find out. Will it be the South African on the top step of the podium? Well, if he stays here, then it will be. Yeah, absolutely, and he's really in a good flow. A couple of corners back there. We'll look at that next lap. He's got some excellent timing through those bumps, and that'll be saving a lot of energy in conditions like this. just lurking in the background behind Paul Jonas, we've got Glenn Coldenhoff. So the Monster Energy Yamaha rider looking a little bit sharper than he was in race 1. Yes, he went down at turn 2, but he came round at the end of the first lap in 13th place, but was only good enough for 8th at the flag, which I know you know him quite well, and you know, there were probably a lot of questions asked. He probably asked a lot of questions of it himself, but maybe they've made some changes in the break, and whatever it is, he looks like he's a little bit sharper this time around.
Yeah, he may have been flustered, obviously, going down there in turn 2 with Renault, but from my perspective, he wouldn't need to make any changes. He knows sand so well, and he just didn't look like he got back in the groove. Well, actually, he never got in the groove whatsoever, so I'd expect him to make this pass on Paul's and at least stay in 3rd, you know, so we'll have to wait and see.
Maxim Renault has found his way past Tim Gajser. He moves into 6th. Gajser already fading down to 7th position. Not what we expected from the championship leader on a day like today. Probably one of the most supremely and physically fit athletes. Here he is here. And he's just starting to work his way backwards slowly on what is turning out to be a difficult day for the 4-time champ.
Slightly odd, to be fair. You know, the way that he rode the beginning of Moto 1, it just looked like he was at ease with the track, and he was really able to just pick his lines, and then by the end of the moto.
AJ out, he's coming for fresh goggles, it looks like, maybe, but reluctant to join the race. In fact, he's turning around and going out of the paddock.
I spoke to AJ between motos, and he was absolutely knackered. He said he's getting terrible arm pump.
Glenn Coldenhoff launches past Paul Jonas for 3rd place, so eventually that pass did happen, but it came very quickly as well. Got onto the rear, caught him, passed him, and now he hopes to go after Vlaanderen, but that's going to be a big ask.
That will be a big ask, and it looks like Vlaanderen's chewed out almost a second. He was 4.9 previous lap, 4.1 now, so looks like he's chewing out a little bit of time, and I'd say, you know, the way that Glenn's riding, he's going to have to keep marching forward now, to be honest. It looks like Glenn's starting to gel and getting a little bit of flow going.
Well, Jorge Prado leads by 3.2 seconds over Calvin Vlaanderen. His lap time last time around, a 1:57.6. A second quicker, though, was Calvin Vlaanderen. So the gap between 1st and 2nd, here is your 1st place rider on the Red Bull Gas, Jorge Prado. Vlaanderen is inching closer to him.
Glenn's looking good too as well. There's a 1:55.2 as well. So it's going to be interesting.
Yeah, 56.4 for Glenn the last lap, but he's still within the same sort of touching distance of Vlaanderen.
Yeah, absolutely.
We're getting ready to go down to HRC, sorry, with Lisa. Here's with Roger Shenton.
Roger, we saw Tim in that first race. We saw how much it took out of him. Second race, a difficult start for him. He looks like he's fading a little bit. He's currently in 6th. It's going to be a tough race, isn't it? And a long one for him.
Yeah, sure. Just got to stick at it. Just try and keep consistent lap times in, and just try and survive.
Okay, thank you, Roger.
So Tim Gajser struggling here, and obviously not many words from Roger Shenton this time around, but obviously he'll just try and get through it as best he can. He's good enough for 3rd overall at the moment. And what was that famous Stefan Everts quote? You take your championships on your worst rides, not necessarily best. And I'm not saying this is a bad ride for Tim Gajser, but given the company that he's in and the championship lead that he holds at the moment, if he can pull away 3rd overall today, that'll be fantastic. All of a sudden, Prado under pressure. That was a 3-second gap reduced in the space of a lap. Prado is on the ropes here. Calvin Vlaanderen getting ready to go by. Will he cut to the inside? Will he not take the risk? Decides not to take the risk through there because both riders could go down. But 7 laps complete. Vlaanderen all of a sudden looking at the race leader and looking at a possible 1-1 to take his first ever Grand Prix victory in MXGP. It's just a matter of time before him and Prado. Look, 1:57.8, a 54.9. Vlaanderen's fastest lap of the race. And the Gavin van Venrooy Yamaha, just as we did in race 1, he's getting quicker. Then he charges up the inside. No resistance from Prado. We have a new race leader on lap 8, and it's Calvin Vlaanderen once again.
Mate, that's putting chills up my neck. That's pretty cool to see, you know. Win that first moto, it's not often that you go on to win both motos for your first ever GP overall.
And a satellite Yamaha team as well, not a factory engine either. And he's at the inside there. Look, Prado knew he was there. He tried to cut back, but wasn't able to cut through enough. But Prado really was a sitting target at that point because Vlaanderen just steaming on through. As Gajser goes down out of 6th place, picks himself up. And again, just going from bad to worse for Tim Gajser. He needs to take a big deep breath and regroup. Van Horbeek, 11th, so he's just picked himself up in 10th place. What happened here? Oh, over the berm. Just ran wide and then tipped it over. He was out of control as soon as he hit that edge.
Yeah, that was odd. He was trying to pass Jonas for 5th, so.
But Jonas wasn't going to let him have it. So he just ran out of track, and neck minute.
Yeah. Just going back to Calvin, that was a real power move. You know, he came up pretty quickly in one lap there, and he knew straight away. You could see in Jorge's posture, this actual turn right now, I noticed last lap, you could see he lost his inside shoulder, his head dropped, and you could see that was all she wrote for the lead there.
Well, look at this battle here. We've got Jonas coming under attack now. Maxime Renault, I think, just going past now into 5th position. And Boga's getting ready to go by his teammate as well. And that fall from Tim Gajser is going to knock him off the podium, you know, when they get everybody over the line.
Two for one. A twofer, as RC would say.
Siwa does go down the inside. Both riders, both the standing construct, Husqvarna's. Siwa from out of nowhere just takes over 6th place. He was in 8th going into that final turn. A twofer. So, Vlaanderen leads, Prado 2nd, Koldenhoff 3rd, Fernandez 4th, Renault, Siwa going past Jonas. And but for Siwa, just to take those 2 passes there, I'd like to see that again actually dropping into that final turn, because that was a heck of a move from the number 91.
Yeah, I'd say Siwa's, he's going to end up on the podium, I would expect, right?
We're tied at the moment, him and Glenn, so we've got Calvin, Prado, and Glenn and Siwa. So the 3 Yamahas, 3rd, 4th and 5th, 33 and 31 for Renault.
And it looks like Glenn's marching up onto Jorge now. Like I said, you can tell that Jorge's not 100% at the moment. There's something underlying there.
Had a dislocated shoulder after Latvia, training in Italy, I believe. Missed Maggiora last week because of that separated shoulder. Decided to come and ride here. In the great scheme of things, what he's done is already very admirable, given the fact that he was missing with that shoulder injury last week.
Yeah, but this is his jam.
Yeah.
You know, like we've seen him ride phenomenally at times. You know, you think back to when he...
Right, Koldenhoff eases past the 61. Offers no resistance once again. Just trying to pick up the points. Going through the motions now, you feel, Jorge Prado, because... maybe missing last week as well, maybe not been on the bike the last couple of weeks. But again, as you said, Ben Townley, sand is normally his jam.
Yeah, it is, mate. And, you know, we've seen at times phenomenal performances. He's battled with the fastest man on the planet at times, you know, on the sand. So I would expect there's something underlying there. A couple of weeks off the bike you don't lose that type of conditioning. Even
with the dislocated shoulder that's maybe not 100%?
That could be the big factor, but... in saying that, you know, he's shown all of Moto 1 that he was in, you know, fairly decent form until the final part. To me, it looks like energy more than an injury in my perspective.
So let's regroup. 12 minutes plus 2 laps to go. Vlaanderen is 5 seconds clear at the moment. And then we've got Koldenhoff, Prado 3rd. Fernandez here is under attack from Renault. This is for 4th place.
Yeah, they're charging forward, these two. These two are really on a charge, and I thought Renault rode phenomenal in first moto. After going down, his bike was damaged, and he got up and he marched himself forward. Look at Jeremy. Those short legs are not helpful in areas like that for the young lad.
Yeah, not got the longest legs in the world, Jeremy Siwa, but he's making them work to his advantage. Tries to get alongside his teammate Maxime Renault. The Frenchman looks across helplessly and says, "Go on, buddy, you can go through, but guess what? I'm going to try and respond if I can in the next corner." But Siwa, the little Swiss Smurf, has moved into 5th place ahead of Renault, and he's got his eyes set on Fernandez. All of a sudden, from being like 2 riders further back behind the 2 Husqvarnas, he's picked off Renault and is about to pick off Fernandez as well in the space of a lap or so.
Mate, there's the potential of a Yamaha 1-2 3-4 potentially here in a second, the way that these guys are going forward.
Yeah,
be really interesting.
And the factory bosses will be looking at it going, it's a satellite winner once again in race 2 potentially. But hey, a Yamaha winner's a win, isn't it, for them guys?
Absolutely, mate. And you know, props to Calvin. That's phenomenal, to get to this track and to be able to have a dominant performance. I'm going to knock on some wood from, but you know, to be able to win in a commanding fashion, it's pretty cool.
10 laps complete. Vlaanderen and Koldenhoff separated by about 5.5 seconds. Vlaanderen still a couple of tenths quicker than the Yamaha rider behind him, Koldenhoff. Then we've got Prado, but his time last time around of 58.5, still quicker than Fernandez, but Siwa is edging closer to the Spaniard. Maxime Renault, I think, you know what? In the next back end on Siwa's bike there, just pitching in when it didn't want to. But I think Renault could still find his way back past these two. I think he's just biding his time at the minute, letting Siwa go for it. But very easy to make mistakes, as we just saw.
Absolutely, mate. It's you know, this is would be I'd like to think that the toughest race of the year. I'd say for them, and it's going to be really interesting. It looks like Renault he has pieces of the track to me that he's quicker, and then other pieces he slightly struggles. So it's one of those tracks as well. You can't charge every single spot. You've got to, you know, like I just said, pick and choose your spots. And this is the toughest pass part.
Siwa tries to get alongside Fernandez. Has to go the long way round. Fernandez yields for now, but for how much longer? Well, there you go. There's your answer. Siwa goes through, takes over 4th place on lap 11. Renault will be next, and he is. He's already up the inside. So both the Monster Energy boys go past the HRC or the Honda 114 rider.
Siwa went down.
Just the other side of the bush.
Yeah.
Just pushing too hard. So Siwa gets himself up and then goes down immediately. There he is, just picking himself up.
Bummer. He was on a tear as well.
I was just watching Siwa come around here, Renault come around the outside. Just watch this here. Better angle from it. Just buries the front in the sand, and then that's it. But fortunately for him, Renault and Fernandez were able to avoid the fallen Swiss rider.
He dropped it again. He picked it up. He was just too high there. That's an inside, well, it was an inside mound that was built prior to the weekend, and he was just too high. It gave way. That's a shame.
Yeah, it was a hard charge. But also, he was doing that in the qualifying race yesterday, but fell, 3-4 times, as well as the first turn crash. So, again, just shows you try to race this track and try to disrespect it by pushing and pushing and pushing. At some point, you might get away with it, but probably more often than not, you might get burned.
Yeah, absolutely right. I'd like to think that he was, you know, in good form. In good form, absolutely. But it just caught him out. Yeah. Really, it's a shame. It's a real shame for him.
Jeremy Siwa picks himself up then in 9th place and immediately goes back after Mattia Guadagnini. And again, no fear for the Yamaha rider, leans on the Italian, goes around the outside of the Gas rider, takes over 8th place. He's not done yet, Jeremy Siwa, and he's got Jonas ahead of him as well here.
He'll have him right now.
And he does go around the outside of Jonas. So 2 positions in quick succession then, as he looks to remount the challenge with 7 minutes to go.
Fair play. It's showing he's obviously got some very good physical condition under the belt right now for Jeremy to, you know, pick his bike up. We're not even a lap back to the spotty crash, and he's already been able to retake 2 positions. So it'll be interesting here. I don't know if he'll get Bogas, but potentially Fernandez.
Could be interesting last 7 minutes or so for Siwa. A little bit easier through there this time around for him, not surprisingly, just to figure out if the line is still damaged or not. But extending his lead over Glenn Koldenhoff is Calvin Vlaanderen. Just creeping out, just over 7 seconds now. Meanwhile,
looks like Prado's been able to just sort of hang in there now. He's sustaining that gap over Renault, and yeah, I guess Bogas is going to be the late race charger.
Yeah, just wasn't able to pick it up for Vlaanderen and Koldenhoff, but like I say, keeping his sort of keeping everything line astern and you know, in control for that 3rd place, controlling that'll get him 2nd overall. But Vlaanderen, what a dream day for him.
Yeah, just look at that, just the way he was able to place the bike in that turn. So really nice flow is what he's got going on as he comes into the turns. He's able to set the bike And after that final bump, he then transitions to the seat and into the power, and it's really a good flow state that he's got going on. When you have that state on a day like today, mate, I don't know what it's like to ride on the clouds, but I would say that would be what it's like, is riding on the clouds, to be honest.
Yeah, and you know what? In MX2 at Matterley Basin, Simon Langenfelder had one of those days. He went 1-1,
yep.
He won the qualifying race. And when it clicks, it doesn't matter how many mistakes you make, the back end can come around 10 times, and 10 times it just corrects itself. It's not a problem.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and it is one of those days.
So far. But there is Renault. Or is that Coldenhoff there? Coldenhoff, 2:59. So he's there in second place. Again, that lead going out, 8.7 seconds. He's going to be on the podium, though, third overall. He'll be pleased with that on what has been a tough season for him so far. A couple of fifths, couple of fourths overall. 10th in Maggiora last weekend in Italy. So showing great bounce-back ability this time around, a week later here in Riola. But you would expect it from the Dutch guys.
Yeah, to be honest, it should be a second overall minimum. You know, the first moto was very underwhelming for Glenn, to be fair.
Tim Gajser circulating in 12th place, just taking points while he can here this weekend. He looked so in control in race 1, but none of us expected Calvin Vlaanderen just to surge by him with a lap and a half to go and pull out 7 seconds, because even Vlaanderen didn't want to let up. Even though he took over the lead, it was just keep that focus, keep that pace. And you know what? He could have done that for another 20 minutes in that first race. Judging by what we're seeing now, a 9-second gap, again, coming from about 5th place, he's just absolutely in control, isn't he?
Yeah, he definitely is. And I'd love to just talk about Calvin here. You know, there's a perfect example of just carrying that flow, hops into this turn, lost a little bit of his body to the side there, but he's able to just keep that momentum going right to the edge there. And this is where he's really good. You watch here, he comes, he's able to get to the edge, jump into this hole, and carry. That's probably not even one of his best laps, if I'm totally honest.
Now he's in cruise mode because he sees he's not being caught, so he's just starting to switch off a little bit. The danger there is too much, and that's when you make your mistakes. But when you've got a 9-second advantage almost, you are able to go slower to go quicker and change those lines up. Jeremy Seewer, meanwhile, has got himself right back onto the rear wheel of Ruben Fernandez, going back after 6th place.
He's going to have him here, I'd say. Yep.
Goes to the inside and easily through and closes down the outside from Fernandez. But Fernandez, the tongue is already in the rear wheel. His day is done as well. So Seewer, easy pickings then as he moves into 6th place.
Yeah, physically you can see, you know, the state that Jeremy's in right now. He's riding strong, and it's hard for him. He's a short guy. You saw it right then. As he went into that turn, it's very difficult with his length, basically, to be able to actually get that pressure to the rear of the bike. So he does a phenomenal job on a track like this, to be fair.
Yeah, he's not scared to hang it out, is he, and go big. And that's what he's doing here. He's obviously had that little slip up, and he believes physically he's feeling better than he was in race 1. So race 1, he got back to 4th position. Although he started in 6th place, so it wasn't like a big surge forward. It was just, I think, conditions in race 1 caught everybody out. Everybody was suffering from the heat. Track was probably a little bit quicker as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
Higher speed.
And I think the thing is, you know, when you have the first gnarly race of the year in terms of, you know, how physically demanding it is, you've got to get into the system, you know, and you know, some will adapt quicker than others, but it's that shock to the system, really. You can do this all day long at a practice track, but when the gate drops and there's adrenaline involved, and you know, the lines change so much fastly compared to at a practice track, yeah, it's a different animal.
Just looking at the lap times last time around from Bogas, 57.7, 57.4, similar, and they've got a 4.3 second advantage or gap between them, Bogas and Seewer. So it'll be tough from here to maybe pick off Bogas, but Jorge Prado, an admirable performance given the fact that he may still have lingering shoulder damage.
Absolutely, yeah, it really is. I just can't help but think, you know, a couple of years back, he was really, you know, fighting for that championship. Was that the year he had to retire with COVID?
Yeah, 2020. And then last year, of course, he went 2-2 behind Jeffrey here. You know, Jeffrey was on a different planet last year, of course, in his own battle. But
I just don't think we've seen Jorge back at his best yet.
Yeah.
And if I'm honest, you know, he just, you know, he can ride extremely well, and I just don't see that in him of late, or for a long time, to be fair.
He got a Grand Prix win in Portugal, and obviously Tim was second overall that day. But, like I say, there have been better performances in the sand, but what we don't know is, because the team are very tight-lipped about it, is how damaged that shoulder was, and, you know, what kind of percentage is that, because originally he wasn't going to ride here, and then he decided to ride here. And I'm assuming that he probably just needed a gate drop before Spain in 2 weeks' time. Maybe, home GP. There's a lot riding on it for him there.
Right. Let's just take a look at Calvin here, and it really looks like he's on a Sunday cruise, you know.
Let's take a look at the story of Vlaanderen's race so far. He's been absolutely silky smooth all day. Gets around the outside of Fernandez early on. That put him up into third. And then he got the better of Paul Jonas to move into second position. And just riding like he's on a training ride at the moment. And then the rider to his right, Jorge Prado, had no comeback through turn 4. And from there, we've not seen him, apart from now. And it just goes to show how comfortable Calvin Vlaanderen has been all weekend long. He won the qualifying race on Saturday, and he's going to turn it into 2 race wins today and an overall Grand Prix victory. Just over 2 laps to go.
Yeah, that's absolutely outstanding. It's really, really cool, and it's obviously probably the first South African winner. And
it will be an MXGP since probably Greg Albertine in when it was 250s.
So since
94.
Tyler Rattray, probably the last winner.
Did he win an MXGP round? I don't think he did he? Because he went to America.
I was meaning just at a World Championship
Oh, yes.
event.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Well, actually, since he won one in MX2 in 2019 or 2018. But,
right. Yeah, okay. Yeah.
But in terms of MXGP, yeah, in the Premier class, for sure, it's going to have to be since Greg.
Wow.
94 on those Suzukis.
That's a long time,
It's a long wait.
Yeah.
A long wait. But 2 to go, and Calvin Vlaanderen absolutely just on a different planet. He, even in his post-race interview, he sounded fresh. You spoke to him in the break between races. He sounded fresh and ready for it. So whatever it is, you know, in his program, his bike setup, there's confidence come into this race ahead of schedule, and he's just making, well, he's given everybody a riding lesson today, hasn't he, to be fair?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it really has. And
so Glenn Koldenoff, 259, second in the race. He's going to be third overall in the classification. 8-2 for him. We'll get him on the podium for the first time this year. A much-needed podium for Glenn Koldenoff. Managed to get on the podium a couple of times last year. Trentino, 5 rounds from the end of the season, was his last, second overall. But these guys now have definitely wound it back, and I think Ben Townley, you were right when you said, you know, it'll be a little bit more spread out than it was in race 1. I think we knew that from the physicality that everybody kind of put into that first race. Hot conditions, brutal racetrack. It's only tougher second time around, and with it being the first real challenge for them as well, it's almost been like a bit of a shock to the system.
absolutely would have been, yeah, 100%. And I still think it's, you know, really interesting, you know, to see that Tim in 12th position still. That's really unexpected, I would have thought, and potentially something there. I mean, it just seems strange to me.
Yeah, something not right there. And obviously 7 podiums from the first 7 rounds. But this guy here has not put a foot wrong, a wheel wrong, as he enters his final lap. Calvin Vlaanderen on the Gavin van Venrooy Yamaha.
That is a commanding performance.
Absolutely.
That's all you can say for that.
Absolutely has shocked the world with that performance, I think. Everybody, I saw comments in the first race and everything was just wow, 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 wow. On fire, unbelievable, great ride. To do it again, back to back.
Yeah.
You know, there's the romantic side of motocross as well. You know, you've got the injury side and everything else, which is a bit that we don't like. But when you get performances like this, to step up, you know, and he's had some horrific injuries as well over the past couple of years and stuff, and some rotten luck or whatever. But to come here, win a qualifying race, keep it in line, Calvin, win a qualifying race, dominate race 1 the way that he did. He's done the same in race 2. It's unbelievable and just, you know, so great to see. As you said, goosebumps, fairy tales do happen.
Yeah, they absolutely do, and credit to him. You know, it's obviously, I'm not entirely familiar with the story, but if he has had injuries and, you know, he's had some tough breaks, it's really cool to see him, you know, go up to standing today, and, you know, he'll take a lot of pride in standing there with a 1-1. I mean, a perfect weekend as well, like you said, to win the qualifying race as well. So
yeah, it doesn't get any better than that. Glenn Coldenoff circulating in 2nd place. Realised that Vlaanderen may be just too good to date. He's now 15 seconds adrift. Prado 7.5 seconds behind him at the start of that. Renault 5 behind the Spaniard, and then Bogas and Seawer 3 seconds behind Bogas now, but just leaving himself too much to do. But the Gavin van Venrooy Yamaha, Calvin Vlaanderen rounding out the final couple of corners here. It's been an absolute immaculate performance, and a sensational one at that as well. And he affords himself a quick fist pump because he knows he's just 20 metres away from taking an overall, the first in MXGP, and he does it here at Riola Sardo. He wins the MXGP of Sardinia. What a day for Calvin Vlaanderen.
wow.
Joyous scenes. What a ride, what a day, what a weekend.
Oh, congratulations, that's a phenomenal performance, and he deserves it.
He can't believe it. He'll be standing on the top step of the podium. The first rider to congratulate him, Glenn Coldenoff, and rightly so, from the factory Monster Energy Yamaha squad. Prado congratulating him as well, because they all realise what he's just achieved. A lifelong dream of standing on the top step in the toughest class, on the toughest track in the world as well, here in Riola Sardo. What a job. Congratulations to everybody involved, but no less to Calvin Vlaanderen.
You can see that emotion, you know, when he was down there on the ground, and everything that goes, you know, throughout your mind after a performance like that, thinking back to all of the years and trials and tribulations, and to be able to stand there and be the best rider in the world, and with a commanding performance. It's a pretty cool feeling, pretty special.
Yeah, and it's been a while, I would think, since Yamaha went 1-1 and won an MXGP. Probably Roman Fevre back in 2015, I would imagine, on his way to the championship, because the last few years it's all been Honda and KTMs, hasn't it? So
just looking at Tim's body English there, he looks absolutely spent, right?
Yeah, I don't know when you know, obviously when he collected the Fox Holeshot black plate after the race, Tim Gajser, when he came in, you know, he looked tired and drained and physically ruined then at that point. And you think, okay, he's going to go refresh and like everybody else, but just hasn't seemed to recovered well between the races, which is, yeah, not good. Not good.
Not at all. Yeah, that's a really interesting one. It'll be, they stay pretty tight-lipped, I assume, but it'll be interesting to actually know, you know, what the circumstances are there, because it's clearly something physical.
Anyway, here's our double race winner and Grand Prix winner for the first time in MXGP, Calvin Vlaanderen, with Lisa.
Calvin Vlaanderen, you have turned some heads today, I'm not going to lie. You've gone 1-1 to get your first MXGP overall, and you did it in style.
Oh, it's unbelievable. I have no words. No words. Honestly, I'm speechless. I just want to say a big thanks to my family. Oh, always there for me. My team, they've given me everything the last 3 years, and just to give them back this result is just awesome. Oh, I'm going to get drunk tonight.
Well deserved, Calvin.
Even Ben Townley applauded it as he just had those words there. But Calvin Vlaanderen, what a day, what a ride, what a performance from him, the team. But this guy made it happen out on the track then.
Absolutely, just looking at that now, you know, and just seeing the way he's flowing through there, and he was able to just carry that momentum. There's a perfect example, running the short line, you know, the fastest way around the sand track, the short line, and he was doing it almost everywhere, to be fair.
Scrubs out the one.
It's a nice touch.
Nice touch. Calvin Vlaanderen wins race 2 by 16 seconds over Glenn Coldenoff. Jorge Prado third, Maxime Renault, and then Brian Bogas. Jeremy C was 6th. Up and down race for him, but good recovery from him. Ruben Fernandez and Mattia Guadagnini ran out the top 8 with Jeremy Van Horbink 9 and Paul Jonas 10. Calvin Vlaanderen, Tim Gajser, 12th place for the 4-time champ and series leader. There'll be a few questions asked tonight. Alvin Ostlund 13, Henry Jacobi, Jordi Tixier, Christophe Charlier, Hardy Ruziorg, Mira Sievenen, and we've got Watson and Van Donnick. But the overall Grand Prix belongs to Calvin Vlaanderen in perfect fashion. 2 wins out of 2, maximum 50-point haul. Jorge Prado on the podium, despite that shoulder injury. Second overall for him with 2 third-place finishes. And Koldenhoff back on the podium. And it's the first visit to the podium for the Dutchman this year. Tim Gajser continues to lead the championship, of course, but took a bit of a dent in the point situation today. Maxime Renault second, Seaworth third. No change in the first 8 places. Vlaanderen up to 9, gains 3 positions today, so he's inside the top 10 at the expense of Jonas, Ferrato and Watson. In the Manufacturers' Championship, KTM move up 1 position to 6, otherwise no change. Honda still lead the way from Yamaha and Gas. 9 manufacturers in MXGP. So we'll get ready for the podium then in due course. But before we do that, we'll do the Fox Holeshot. And that was right at the start of the race. And it was Jorge Prado with Fox Holeshot number 7 by about a week. Doing his best to look energised. Everybody else has taken a battering apart from Calvin Vlaanderen today, but 7 on the board today for him for the season, 107 in his professional career. That is just outstanding. Ben Townley, before we do the podium, what have you made of the racing today in the MXGP category?
Oh, it's been fantastic. I mean, you know, congratulations to Calvin. That was a truly special performance, and it's not something that you see too often, especially for a first ever MXGP overall win, you know. So, and for the rest of it, I loved MX2 racing. I really thought those 2 at the front, they battled. You could have thrown a blanket over them most of the day
without giving anything away. But Glenn Koldenhoff, 3rd overall. Glenn Koldenhoff, 3rd overall here in the MXGP of Sardinia, and he does it with an 8th and a 2nd place, and he'll be pleased to be back on the podium. 2nd overall, Jorge Prado, Red Bull Gas Factory Racing, 2 third-place finishes. Took a week off last week, and it looked like it paid off as well. But standing on the top step of the podium, this will be a very momentous and very emotional visit to the podium for Calvin Vlaanderen and Gavin Van Venrooy racing Yamaha. 2 wins out of 2, gets to stand on the top step finally in MXGP. And what a way to do it. What a place to do it as well. We always said Lommel was probably the toughest place, but here, absolutely the toughest place in which to come and win, especially with the track, the conditions as well. Trophies being delivered then. The MC Motor School Riola president, Fulvio Guido Mallorca, handing the 3rd place trophy and the first of the season for the Monster Energy Yamaha rider Glenn Koldenhoff. Jorge Prado, Red Bull Gas Factory Racing will take his 2nd place trophy from Bruno Herra. But this will be one to remember for Calvin Vlaanderen. 2 wins out of 2. A qualifying race win just for good measure as well. A first ever Grand Prix victory for Calvin Vlaanderen. And for Gavin Van Venrooy Yamaha Racing as well. Klaas Hattem will take that trophy back to the Netherlands as well. Good job, Calvin. Good job, team. You stand on the top step of the podium here at the MXGP of Sardinia. Tim Gajser continues to lead the championship, but unable to make his way to the podium. So the red plate will be delivered to Giacomo Garibaldi instead by Mr. Antonio Elia Portela, the FIM CMS director. So Tim Gajser really struggling with the conditions today. And hopefully he makes a quick recovery in terms of getting his energy levels back. But Tim Gajser continues to lead as we head to Spain in 2 weeks' time. But for Calvin Vlaanderen, the national anthem of the Netherlands. Calvin Vlaanderen on the top step of the podium for the first time in MXGP with a double race win here in Sardinia. Jorge Prado, second overall. Glenn Koldenoff on the podium, third overall, his first visit to the box this season. We'll talk to the top three in just a few moments' time, but before we do, let's just have a recap as to what happened in that second MXGP race. Wasn't too much happening, but when the gate dropped, Jorge Prado, it was, who grabbed the Fox Holeshot for the 7th time this year. Riders going down in the first turn. But Jonas was there in second, Fernandez third, Vlaanderen quickly around him, or he thought he was he sat there in 4th place. Koldenoff in 5th, Gajser in 6th. Didn't take long, though, for Vlaanderen to find his stride, just like he did in race 1. He was finding his way past Fernandez, and then eventually past Jonas to go from 4th to 3rd to 2nd. Got the pass done here around the outside of the Latvian. By then, Prado was already gone, so a few laps later, Vlaanderen did get onto the rear wheel of the Spaniard, took over the lead, and it was almost like a training ride from there on out. Gajser tried to find his way past Jonas, hit the deck in doing so, picked himself up. He fell from 6th, and then that was it then in the end. He came home in 12th place and was looking very dishevelled. A twofer for Jeremy Seewer, goes past both Husqvarnas as he charged his way through the field, but then he would eat the dirt a little bit later on. But Koldenoff got the better of Prado to move in a second. Seewer up the inside of Renault, and then he got the better of Fernandez, and shortly after this, through a right-hand turn, just lost the front end. Look, all on his own, just buried the front there. Renault and Fernandez avoided him, but he did start a spirited fight back after that. But no one a match today for Calvin Vlaanderen. 1-1 here in Sardinia. He's now an MXGP winner.
Calvin Vlaanderen, congratulations. I mean, you were picking off world champions out there like it was for fun. Hard work pays off, and it's days like today that make it all worth it. I know you're speechless, but honestly, how are you feeling?
It's unreal. Like I just said, it's a dream. Like I don't know what to say. Like this isn't just days of hard work. This is years of hard work. You know, all the sacrifices that I made since I was a kid. This is what I work for. This is my dream, to win a world championship MXGP. This is unreal. Unreal. Thanks so much.
Thanks, Calvin. Second overall today, we have Jorge Prado. Jorge, despite a shoulder injury, 2 third-place finishes, some intense races. You must be happy. You take that, right?
I mean, 3 weeks off with a shoulder injury and come back here and fighting for the win. Got second overall, so it's amazing. I didn't even expect to be racing here, and here I am on the podium celebrating in this great track. I always love to come here to Sardinia. and the weather is great. So it was a tough one. We made it happen, and super proud thanks to the whole Red Bull Gas Factory Racing team, everyone around me who supports me. So see us in Spain next weekend.
Thanks, Jorge. Okay, third overall we have Glenn Coldenoff. Glenn, an 8th and a 2nd. First podium of the year for you. It's been a long time coming, hasn't it?
Yeah, definitely. You know, it's been a tough 2 weeks, especially before Majora got sick, and we took as much rest as possible last week, and I'm still feeling not 100%. But it's good that we have 1 weekend off, and we'll be ready for Spain. Thanks to the whole crew, Monster Energy, Yamaha Factory, MXGP team. They did an amazing job, and yeah, thanks everyone for the support at home, and